Good morning. Welcome to Hope's Devotions on this Wednesday, March the 17th. Happy St. Patrick's Day. You can see I'm wearing my green today because I don't want to get pinched. Green isn't my favorite color, but I'm doing what everyone expects me to do. Wear green on St. Patrick's Day, even my shamrock earrings. Do you always do what others expect of you? Today, as we walk with Jesus to Jerusalem, we're going to meet a woman who did the unexpected. It takes courage to step outside the box, and she had a lot of courage, and she was desperate. Luke in the 8th chapter tells us that Jesus was surrounded by a crowd of people as he and his disciples walked along. In the crowd was a woman who for 12 years had been afflicted with hemorrhages. She spent every penny she had on doctors, but not one had been able to help her. Have you known someone who has been very ill and the doctors couldn't find a treatment for the ailment? Can you put yourself in this woman's place? But what was she doing in the crowd in the first place? According to Jewish law, any woman who was on her monthly period was considered unclean, and anyone who touched her was also unclean. She couldn't touch anyone, and no one could touch her. So for 12 years, she was essentially in isolation. Can you imagine how this woman felt? How desperate she was? She had spent every penny she had for a cure that couldn't be found. She had heard of Jesus, this man who did miraculous healings, even lepers. Surely he could heal her, if she could only reach him. But the crowd was so large and pressed against him. If she could just reach in. And Luke says she slipped in from behind and touched the edge of Jesus' robe. At that very moment, her hemorrhaging stopped. Don't you suppose she was filled with great joy and awe? But then Jesus said, "Who touched me?" Her heart must have stopped beating out of fear. Luke says, when no one stepped forward, Peter said, "But Master, we've got crowds of people on our hands. Dozens have touched you." Jesus insisted, "Someone touched me. I felt power discharging from me." When the woman realized she couldn't remain hidden, she knelt trembling before him. And in front of all the people, she blurted out her story, why she touched him, and how at that same moment she was healed. But what would happen? She broke the Jewish law. What would Jesus do? She stayed kneeling, shaking, head lowered. But instead of announcing punishment or chastising her, out of his mercy and grace and compassion, Jesus said, "Daughter, you took a risk trusting me, and now you're healed and whole. Live well, live blessed." In another translation, it says that Jesus said, "Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace." Well, Luke doesn't tell us what happened to the woman after that, but don't you think she was filled with gratitude? Don't you think she would have done anything the Lord asked of her? She did take a risk, stepped out of the box, but her faith brought her to the one who healed her, and her life would never be the same. Jesus changes our lives too. He stopped the woman's bleeding. He heals us with his blood. These are the lyrics to a song by Hillsong Worship called Healer. And they read, "I believe you're my healer. I believe you are all I need. I believe you're my portion. I believe you're more than enough for me. Jesus, you are all I need. Nothing is impossible for you. Nothing is impossible. Nothing is impossible for you. You hold my world in your hands." Amen